my assignment to Germany for 1 year by the University of Southern California Systems Management Center as a resident professor of their systems management program was the event that resulted in a 12-month voyage from Copenhagen to Corpus Christi. We lived in the little 1,200-year-old winemaking village of Feddersheim, located in southern Germany near the Rhine River.
We spent most of our spare time during the summer and fall searching for a boat and watching the boat and barge traffic on the rivers and canals of Germany. After several trips to England, France, Holland, Denmark, and Sweden, we finally found the boat for us in Denmark.
Another big decision that had to be made was, how shall we record this dream trip? We finally decided to use Super 8 film. We purchased a camera, and this scene was taken to get some practice using the time-lapse feature of it. The hibiscus bloom lasts only 1 day, then folds up and drops off. I kept waiting and waiting and waiting for it to drop off, but it wouldn't until I turned the camera off. I am a sunset and sunrise freak, so I also had to practice capturing these on film.
We spent much of the winter reading books and magazine articles about cruising the canals and rivers of Europe. Finally, it was spring, and the local activity suggested to us that it was time to start our physical training.
One way of doing this was to participate in some of the community athletic activities. The last runner in the dark trousers is me at the start of a community-organized 6-mile run. This is a common sight in Germany. It is possible to stroll, walk, or run in one of these organized events almost every weekend in the spring, summer, and fall. They are usually 6, 12, and 18 miles long. I made it back from this 6-miler.
The second time we went to a Volksloft, I met a young German boy who wanted to practice his English as we walked along. After that, for several weekends, Charlie and I walked the 12-mile course. There was a band and bratwurst and beer at the finish line to give participants a chance to relax before the drive home. There were medals for everyone. This weekend activity is a way of life for many German families.
After visiting many boatyards in several countries, we finally decided that the Great Dane 28 was the boat for us. It is built by Klaus Bass of Copenhagen, and we ask for a tour of the two plants where the hull and finish work are done before putting our name on the dotted line. The hull is molded on the little island of Møn, south of Copenhagen. The hull is then trucked to Roskilde, a centuries-old town at the bottom of the Roskilde Fjord, and here the woodwork, rigging, and fittings are installed. Both the design and production method are approved and checked at frequent intervals by Lloyd's of London, and the completed hull is certified by them as seaworthy. All the hulls are the same, but the hardware and interiors differ and can be modified if desired by the owner. Six hulls are usually completed and then trucked to Roskilde as needed.
The Apollo 32 is Bass's most popular boat and is shipped to many countries. A Canadian bought one at the same time we bought the Great Dane 28, and we were very surprised to find ourselves in the slip next to him in Barcelona some 4 or 5 months later.
This small, personalized yard, with only 3 or 4 very competent workmen, completes about 1 Great Dane 28 per month. All the workmen are proud of their work and will discuss what they are doing with you, if you can speak Danish. We made several trips to this yard while our boat was being built, and watched her as she became our gypsy girl. To meet Lloyd's specifications, all bulkheads and the cabin sole are fiberglass to the hull to give added strength and prevent squeaks, groans, and wear when in a heavy sea. The motor has been installed and is carefully protected by a plastic covering. Hatches, ports, cockpit seats, and hardware are installed.
This location is where Viking ships were built and sailed 1,000 years ago. These old Viking ships were raised from the bottom of the Roskilde Fjord and are in a museum just up the shoreline from where the Great Dane is built. It's nice to know that there is 1,000 years of experience going into our boat.
This Great Dane 28 was caught in a storm on her maiden voyage and thrown up on the beach by a giant wave. She suffered only cosmetic damage and was refloated by digging a channel to deep water and sailed away. After our tour of the boatyards, we took a final evening to discuss what we had seen and heard, and the next morning, bright and early, we were back at Klaus Bass's office in Copenhagen to sign the papers. Mr. Bass was also there bright and early, with the papers ready. This was a big moment for us, and Mr. Bass's patience in helping us film it was very much appreciated. The usual terms are 1/3 when the order is placed, 1/3 on completion of the hull, and 1/3 on delivery. This was December 23rd, and our Christmas present. I still had several more months to teach in Germany, so we asked for delivery on June 1st. We arrived in Copenhagen the evening before and were at Mr. Bass's office at 0800 on our scheduled launch date, and by 1000, Gypsy Girl was being lifted from her cradle and placed on a truck for the short trip to the harbor. Our baby is up on her knees and crawling. The day was cloudy, but we felt bright and sunny. This is undoubtedly just another day in the lives of the workmen, but for us it's a special moment, and we watch anxiously every inch of the way as Gypsy Girl is taken to the harbor. We were anxious about the traffic and asked for a police escort, but they declined. She won't be alone when she gets in the water. finally has water under her keel, even if it is 6 or 8 feet below her. At last, she enters the water. Somebody's calculations were right. She floats right on her lines. The mast is stepped, and Gypsy Girl is soon going to be ready to sail. The final turnbuckle is tightened by the boatyard manager himself. We had these thermos and cup racks custom made, and it was the most used item in the boat. It is located just inside the main hatch, so it is not necessary to go below to get a drink. It proved especially useful during night watches and enabled the off-duty crew to get some undisturbed sleep. Our last installation is a 4-man Viking life raft. When making a passage, we also carry an 8-foot Avon dinghy half inflated on the foredeck with the pump tied to it. The man installing the life raft, Herr Nielsen, did almost all of the interior, and except for the hull molding and engine installation, it is really his boat. This ancient coal-fired ferry is a familiar sight on Roskilde Fjord on summer weekends. It is maintained and operated by a group of retired ship captains. They take children for cruises on the fjord.
I finally managed to come back from the store to the boat with an empty grocery bag, so it is time to start stowing. Most of our food has been brought from Germany to Copenhagen during our trips up to check on the construction progress. Food storage on a small boat for a long trip is a major project. First comes how much of what to buy. Then comes preservation consideration. Then comes the problem of finding the best space for long and short-term storage. And finally, space for those items used daily. In addition, pots, pans, utensils, cups, dishes, and bowls must be stowed securely.
It's amazing how much you can find room for on a small boat. We were off on a train trip to visit a Frankfurter factory. We heard about a special Frankfurter that tasted like fresh but kept for over a year in a vacuum-packed container. We could not find them in the U.S. Army Commissary, the German stores, or the Danish stores, so we wrote to Hormel, the U.S. distributor. They suggested that we visit the Copenhagen office of Normeat and inquire about them. We did, and were extended an invitation to visit the packing house and pick up 3 24-pack cartons of the Frankfurters as they came off the production line. We were so impressed with their technical discussion, a tour of the plant, and the literature that was provided us that we did get 3 cartons containing 72 six-packs of Franks. Eleanor gets some assistance carrying them to the car. This is the plant manager and engineer. While Elle was provisioning, I was busy getting equipment such as this Vectolite personal man overboard light. A C-Mate water-activated man overboard light. A very pistol and shells with many spare shells in addition to those you see. An electric and kerosene anchor lantern. A battery-operated man overboard light. A Ritchie main steering compass that had 45-degree lubber lines that are extremely useful when the helmsman's normal position is in the cockpit corners. Elle particularly liked this electronic hand-bearing compass by Ritchie. In good light, she could get a more accurate bearing faster than I could with the traditional type hand-bearing compass. This handheld anemometer proved very useful in stopping arguments about wind strength, and unfortunately probably reduced the wild stories told later about the force 10 storms that we went through. We got a call buoy that was built in England for emergency marine contacts. One place we try to get the very best is in personal clothing. Nothing will destroy a cruise faster than slipping on a wet deck or getting wet feet. We would be on and off the boat many times in the canals, so we each got 2 pair of dock siders. If you happen to be sailing in the right area, there is also a chart on the shoebox.
A trip to Copenhagen would not be complete without a trip to Tivoli, the unequaled downtown amusement and entertainment center right at the very center of the city. This is an outdoor pantomime theater. A beautiful concert hall. A Chinese restaurant. A lakeside restaurant. The City Hall just 1 block away. A children's Ferris wheel. A mini roller coaster. And flowers, flowers, flowers. A unique slide. An interesting glider. And surrounding this beautifully landscaped and designed park was the bustle of cosmopolitan downtown Copenhagen. The music was by Elaine Jardine.